I think the reason a lot of women don't like sex is because they have not found their own desire, and they are doing performance sex or to please you sex, or getting your attention sex. They haven't found their own desire. And the reason that happens is because what women see and what men see as sex is usually from porn. That's why I think porn is so damaging. Not that I'm against watching people having sex, but we're just modeled one way of having sex. I mean, even back in the 80s when I was a youngster in high school and college, I was able to see porn by checking out, VHSs from the store. And sometimes, later it'd be on cable and the way that sex is portrayed in porn is that it's, well, it's not central at all the way that actually women and men enjoy sex, first of all. But the woman is like an object as an ejaculation device, and she's just there to perform, and she's not enjoying it. I mean, she's faking it and pretending, but she's performing and she's faking and she's pretending, and she's not really in her pleasure. The reason that I know that a lot of women don't enjoy sex is because they're not lost in the moment. They're not knowing what they really want. They say yes when they really mean no. I mean, how many women can relate to the fact that we've had sex with our husbands and our boyfriends or just guys because it was easier to say yes? Faking orgasms, like that's not something I did, but many women do, to try to get the guy to get off and finish. Like, she's not enjoying it. Performing, thinking this is how it should be, trying to be super wild. It's disembodied and it's not authentic and it's bypassing her desire. So it comes from what we see in porn. Okay, that's one. And it also comes from men's anxiety. It comes from men's anxiety that are so impatient to get in there. Their lack of attunement to the woman and the woman allowing it. Okay, so I'm not going to put all the blame on men. I mean, men directed the porn and men are anxious to get in there, but they do it because they haven't discovered the magic of a woman's desire. Like, if a woman is actually in her desire and turned on, the sex is a different kind of magic. It's transcendent. It's kind of like the difference between studying a flower in a book and just being out in nature and being lost in the scents and the beauties of the flowers. You can't get lost when you're performing, acting, and rushing in, trying to get some climax, faking. And I think that's why a lot of women don't want to have sex. Like, it doesn't feel good. They don't know why. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because it's too quick, it's too rushed, and it's all about the guy's desire. And that's how women think sex should be. They allow things because they want to please the guy. They don't want to offend the guy. They think there's something wrong with them if they don't like what the guy is doing. Or maybe they're constantly being, subjected to really quick sex without warm up, and they don't like it and they don't know why, and they're afraid to speak up, or they don't know how to speak up. They haven't found their desire. So my invitation for the ladies, this has to be a woman-led thing, because men don't know what we need and what we want. It's up to us to find our desire and to express it. And I think the safest way or the easiest way to find our desire is when we're by ourselves and we can just experiment, okay? What we like, what we want, and then to start speaking up when it's not that, and to start sharing what we want and what we need. And a lot of times women don't want that thrusting, especially right off the bat. For a lot of ladies, it feels really good to just have something inside of them that's not moving. For a lot of ladies, it feels really good to have something inside of them that's not moving or barely moving, or they can control the movement. For a lot of women, they don't even want to be penetrated till their body is begging for it. And the guy rushing to get in makes her tense up. You know, when he's relaxed, his energy has to be relaxed, turned on and relaxed, so she can set the pace. It's so important, you guys. And what I really recommend to women is that they explore with something. If you're talking about intercourse, I would explore with something that can be internal. It could be like a cervix wand, or it could be a phallus-shaped object or dildo. And I would start with the really small dildo. A lot of men have the idea that they gotta be huge and pound away. Like, we're not elephants, we're women, and we have nerve endings that are super, like a lot of nerve endings. And sensitive people don't need to be hit on the cervix. I mean, sometimes women like a little bit more pressure and harder thrusting once they're warmed up, but not starting out. Like, so many guys are way too quick, way too gropey, because they're anxious and they don't know what women want. But I invite you to, ladies, to just be like, okay, I need you to slow down and don't even move. Just tell your guy, I'm gonna move at my pace, and you just lay there and let me enjoy myself. And a healthy man is going to want you to enjoy yourself, and he's going to let you set the pace. But if he's all anxious and you're not enjoying it, I can see why you wouldn't want sex. We as women have to start speaking up for what feels good and what doesn't. If your boyfriend has bad breath, if he doesn't smell clean, if he's too quick or too gropey, it's not his fault if you haven't told him. Men don't know what we want because we're very different. Just like we don't know why they're so gropey and quick, they don't know why we need it slow. We have to start communicating. And, you know, the topic of desire is a very sensitive topic. I was going to some Toastmasters meetings a few years ago because I was interested in maybe I would want to do some public speaking on female sexuality. And I was at a Toastmasters meeting that was held at a local business. It was a huge company near me in Carlsbad. And I had just returned from a weekend retreat that was led by Amy Jo Goddard. She wrote The Lesbian Sex Secrets, and she's just a really good sexual educator. And the whole weekend was about women finding our desire. It was very, very good. So I had just come off that weekend, and the next day was the Toastmasters meeting, and the topic they selected was desire. It's like, okay, I didn't pick the topic. The word of the day was desire. So I said, desire, you know, I was just at this female sexuality weekend, and we talked about desire and female desire and what do we desire rather than doing what the man wants, just doing what the man wants. What do we actually desire? I left it as vague as that. I got a call the next day from one of the ladies that had and I had just been accepted into the club that day. I got a call from one of the ladies, and she let me know that I would not be able to join that Toastmasters club after all because, you know, it was a workplace, and everybody there except for a couple outsiders were people who worked together, and it was kind of considered sexually too much to talk about desire like this, which I totally get it. in hindsight. In hindsight, I get it. But at the time, I was like, damn, I can't even talk about desire. And it's so important. All the men were squirming so uncomfortably. They were so uncomfortable. Because you don't want to bring sex into the workplace. I get it. But I'm like, we have to start talking about female desire. And a lot of women don't even know what they want. You know, I'm still waking up to that myself in my own exploration. Like, what do I desire? And it's going to be a very slow pace, slower than what the guy wants. You know, I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to feel pushed. I don't want to feel your anxiety that you got to get in there, because it makes my body tense up. You know, I want to be able to find my desire, like what feels good to me. I got to find it. I can't find it if you're all anxious and gropey and fumbly and poking me, and these are men who are well-meaning men. They just don't know the magic that happens when we make the guy make the guy slow down and we find our desire. It opens up a new avenue of pleasure and sensuality and magic in us, where we get super turned on, and the guys love that. Because if we're just performing, then we're just like an object. But if we're like finding our desire and we're like happy and like enjoying his body and his gaze, it draws him into our magic. And I just want to have sex with men that want to feel my magic. I don't want to have sex with men that just want to pound away or use me as an object. Unfortunately, I don't. But I noticed over the years that men will have the kind of sex that I invite them into. So, you know, I started thinking, the reason I'm making this video is because a few days ago I was thinking about what would make me not feel used by a guy. Because usually I feel used. What would make me not feel used in a hookup situation? And I don't hook up, by the way, but if I were to hook up, what would make me not feel used is if I set the pace, if I said what I wanted, if I went really slow, if it wasn't just about me letting him get off at my expense, more or less, because usually in the hookups, I hardly ever had an orgasm in a hookup. I'll tell you that right now. I had more orgasms with my clients than I ever had in a hookup. I'll tell you that right now. And I have to take accountability. I'm not going to blame myself because I didn't know. However, I'm going to take accountability because I hadn't found my desire. I didn't speak up. I didn't want to take up the space. And that's why I felt used. If I actually set the tone and set the pace, and I'm in charge of the sexual encounter, I let you as the guy know what I want and what I'm okay with and what I enjoy, then I'm not going to feel used. So it's a process for us as women, I feel like, to find that desire. And the guys are going to love it. I mean, if you're just sitting, like, just try sitting on the guy and just rotating or moving or wiggling. It's not going to make them come, but it's going to feel good for you as the woman. And you can really enjoy yourself. You don't have to do all that thrusting like they do in porn. Like, that's what I mean. Like, just find what you like. Start moving around. It's like, does this feel good? Do I like this? Do I like this? And any guy who's like, I got to thrust and get in there is like, okay, back off, buddy. It's not okay. You got to tell them to back off. And you may have to end relationships with some guys. Or just stop having sex with some guys because they don't get it. An emotionally healthy man is going to want you to enjoy yourself. And they're going to love that part of you. But there's some men who are emotionally unhealthy that are not going to understand that or want the magical part of you. But we have to slow down and enjoy our magic. We have to find our desire. And how that is different for each woman. Now, that's one way of having sex. There are other ways of having sex, like, I just want to be ravished, push me up against the wall, fuck me hard. That's a different mood. There are different moods. That could be your desire one day. One day your desire could be like to just give him a blowjob. The other day the desire might be for him to just go down on you, or just for him to give you a massage, or just for him to sit and hold your hand or cuddle, whatever you want to do. Like, find your desire, and it's going to be different times of the month as your hormones fluctuate and different moods you have, just because we're not robots. It would be boring to do it the same way every time. But if every time is just him thrusting to get off, that doesn't feel good. It's boring, and it totally bypasses what the woman really wants. I think a good place to start is with the really slow sex, so that the woman can learn to feel her desire without being rushed into a performance by a guy who's super anxious, frankly, and devoid of any emotional attunement, as is she, you know, as we are all to some extent, you know. I'm not picking on anyone. I mean, this is a journey I'm on for myself as well. And thank you so much for listening to my video.